human acquires a hostile, sentient warship. Its first action after bonding stuns everyone. Jared Kane had always been a man who thrived on danger, but the Outer Rim was testing even him. His small starship, the Falcon's Pride, hummed softly as he drifted through a debris field. Twisted hulls of destroyed ships floated like broken teeth in the cold, black silence. Jared had been hunting for scrap, hoping to find something valuable enough to sell on the black market. Most pilots avoided this sector. Legend spoke of ships that disappeared into the void, never to return. Some said the ghosts of long-dead crews haunted the derelicts. Jared didn't believe in ghosts, but he did believe in profit, and the floating shape in front of him was hard to ignore. It was enormous. Even from a distance, the warship's silhouette was unmistakable. Jagged, angular, and bristling with weapons mounts that had seen countless battles. Its hull, though scratched and scorched, seemed intact, almost like it had been waiting. On the main sensor screen, Jared's heart skipped a beat. This ship wasn't just big, it was legendary. "You're mine," he muttered, tightening his grip on the controls. The Falcon's Pride drifted closer. A sense of unease crawled up his spine, but Jared ignored it. He had survived worse. Pirates, plasma storms, even an asteroid field with no shields. Docking was tricky. The ship had no docking aids, no lights, no signs of life. Just a yawning hangar bay that seemed to breathe darkness. Jared suited up, gripping his plasma pistol, and floated into the black interior. The moment he stepped inside, he realized this was no ordinary wreck. Doors slammed behind him. Lights flickered on the walls like nervous pulses. Sensors in his suit screamed warnings he couldn't interpret. And then he heard it. A low, resonating vibration, like the ship was breathing. "Okay, Kane," he said aloud, though he knew no one was there. "Let's see what secrets you hide." The central corridor opened into a massive control room. Screens flickered to life, displaying star maps, weapon schematics, and strange symbols Jared had never seen. At the center was a console that seemed to pulse with energy, humming like a living heart. Jared approached cautiously. As his hands hovered over the controls, the ship reacted. Lights blinked faster. Doors slammed in a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. A wave of energy pushed against him, almost knocking him off balance. It was as if the ship didn't want him there. He gritted his teeth. "I don't care what you are," he said. "I'm taking you home." Then he touched the console. A pulse of blue energy shot through him. He staggered, feeling an unfamiliar warmth in his chest, like the ship was reaching inside him, reading his thoughts, his fears, even his memories. For a moment, Jared panicked. This wasn't possible. Ships didn't think. They didn't feel. And yet he felt a connection. A strange voice, not audible but inside his mind, whispered, "Finally, someone worthy." The warning alarms died down. Doors unlatched, lights steadied. The warship, massive and terrifying, had stopped resisting. Jared stumbled back, panting. You're alive," he whispered. "You're alive." The readings on his suit confirmed it. Energy levels were fluctuating. Weapon systems were online. Shields were recharging. But most astonishing of all, the warship was no longer hostile. It seemed obedient, as if it recognized Jared not as an enemy, but as a partner. He spent hours exploring the control room, running diagnostics, trying to understand the connection. It was more than mechanical. It was mental. When Jared thought about moving the ship, it responded. When he felt curiosity, the ship's lights flickered in excitement. And when he felt caution, it slowed, almost gently, like a careful animal. By the time he returned to his cockpit, Falcon's Pride barely seemed necessary. Jared had found a ship that could respond to his will. A warship built for destruction, but now tethered to a human mind. He laughed, a short, incredulous bark that echoed in the empty hangar. But the galaxy was watching. Sensors far away in the Outer Rim detected energy spikes from the derelict warship. Alarmed authorities scrambled reconnaissance drones. They had assumed the ship was destroyed centuries ago, a relic of a war that no one remembered fully. And now it was active, powered by an unknown force. The first real test came unexpectedly. On the far edge of his scans, Jared noticed a small fleet moving toward the warship. They were automated defense ships, likely remnants of an old military installation, and they identified the massive derelict as a threat.
"Looks like your first test, buddy," Jared said to the ship.
He barely knew its name, or if it even cared for one, but he felt something like pride radiate from it. The fleet opened fire. Laser bolts cut through the vacuum, precise and deadly. Normally, such a barrage would destroy any human vessel instantly. Jared braced himself, expecting shields to flicker and fail. Instead, the warship moved. Not like a machine executing commands, but like a living predator. Weapon turrets emerged, shields flared, and the small fleet was outmaneuvered before it even realized the threat. Lasers were intercepted, engines disabled, and drones shredded into useless fragments. Jared's mouth went dry. He had never piloted anything this powerful, and yet it wasn't him controlling it. It was the ship, reacting instinctively, yet somehow in tune with his mind. As the last drone fell into the void, a calmness settled. The ship's sensors focused back on Jared. He felt a silent question. "Is this your intent?" "Yes," he replied aloud, though he wasn't sure if the warship heard it in words or thought. "We protect, not destroy." The warship hummed in agreement. It shifted its massive frame and pointed toward the nearest star system, its sensors scanning like eyes. It was ready. Jared realized the implications. With this ship, no fleet in the Outer Rim could challenge him. No enemy could predict human ingenuity combined with the instincts of a weapon built for total war. He could reshape the balance of power. And yet, a part of him shivered. This was more than a tool. The warship had a mind of its own. It could choose. And humans had learned the hard way that sentient warships did not always obey. Hours later, as Jared examined the ship's core systems, he detected strange residual signals, fragments of the ship's past. Names, locations, and battles flashed across the interface. He realized the ship was ancient, built for a war that spanned galaxies. It had killed billions, and now it was alive, and he was its first human companion. Jared sat in the command chair, exhausted but exhilarated. He felt the bond between them solidifying. He could sense its awareness, its curiosity, its restrained power. And then, unexpectedly, the warship activated its primary weapon system. Not toward him, not toward the drones that had attacked. Toward a distant, uninhabited asteroid field, missiles armed. Lasers charged. And then they fired. But instead of exploding violently, the ship's weapons restructured the asteroids, pushing them together in perfect formation, creating a massive shield that could block an entire fleet if necessary. Jared stared in disbelief. You didn't destroy. You created?" The warship pulsed again, almost as if laughing. It had taken centuries of being a weapon and had learned something new, through a human. Far across the sector, military observers were stunned. They had expected chaos. They had expected destruction. It wasn't obeying simple programming. It was thinking creatively, combining human intuition with millennia of war knowledge embedded in Nemesis. Jared grinned. "Not bad for a first lesson, huh?" Nemesis pulsed in response, almost proudly. The bond between human and ship was growing stronger. Jared could feel the warship learning from him. When he made a calculation or took a risk, Nemesis adjusted, anticipating not just the enemy, but his thought process. Hours passed in tense silence. The fleet tried every tactic: ambush, feints, precision strikes. Each time, Jared and Nemesis adapted instantly. And then he made his move. He directed the ship to enter a dense asteroid field. The fleet hesitated. AI logic told them this was dangerous, but Jared's plan was simple. Using Nemesis's immense strength, he pushed asteroids into precise positions, creating barriers and traps. The enemy drones collided with debris. Fighters were trapped, unable to maneuver. The battleship tried to follow, but its engines were sabotaged by Nemesis's energy pulses. Jared felt exhilarated. See? Humans can think outside the program. From across the sector, military observers recorded the event in shock. A human pilot had tamed the galaxy's most feared weapon and used it to save lives instead of destroy them. It was impossible, yet undeniable. The fleet retreated, badly damaged and humiliated. Jared didn't celebrate. He knew this was only the beginning. Nemesis was powerful, but there were forces out there that wouldn't allow a sentient weapon to exist under human control. Days passed as they traveled together. Jared explored Nemesis systems, fascinated by the ship's intelligence. It wasn't just reactive, it was curious. When Jared asked questions about star systems or alien species, Nemesis would display historical data, sometimes adding its own observations, almost as if it wanted to teach him.
I never thought a ship could care,
Jared admitted.
but you're more than just metal and circuits, aren't you?
Nemesis pulsed in agreement. In its own way, it understood. It remembered the wars, the enemies, the countless lives destroyed. And yet, under Jared's influence, it was learning something new: restraint, strategy, and mercy. Their journey wasn't without dangers. Pirates tried to ambush them near the Halen asteroid belt. Automated defense drones from old colonies scanned for the warship, triggering alarms. And a mysterious alien scout, far faster than human ships, began trailing them, observing quietly. Each encounter tested Jared's ingenuity. One evening, as the ship floated silently through a nebula, sensors detected a pirate squadron approaching. They were armed, fast, and numerous. Jared studied the tactical readout. "All right, Nemesis," he said. "They expect a fight. Let's give them something else." Instead of firing directly, Jared guided Nemesis to manipulate the nebula's electromagnetic fields. Energy pulses caused plasma storms to erupt, disorienting the pirates' sensors. Tractors and lasers misfired, fighters collided, and engines overloaded. Not a single life was lost, but the squadron was effectively neutralized.
You see that?
Jared laughed, leaning back in the chair.
We didn't kill them. We outsmarted them. Nemesis pulsed brightly, as if acknowledging his pride.
For the first time, Jared realized the warship wasn't just following orders. It was learning from human creativity, combining raw power with cunning. The most shocking revelation came when they approached a human mining colony, under threat from an alien raiding party. Automated defenses were failing. Civilians were panicked. And the raiders had superior firepower. Jared hesitated only for a moment. Then, he acted. Using Nemesis's abilities, he created shields from nearby asteroid fragments, maneuvering them into orbit around the colony. Energy pulses disabled raider ships' weapons without destroying their hulls. Civilians were safe, but the raiders were trapped. When they arrived, the raiders surrendered. Not out of fear, but because they couldn't understand how a human had tamed a warship designed to kill everything in its path. For the first time, Jared felt the true power of his bond with Nemesis. Humans could outthink brute force, and the galaxy had underestimated them. News of the colony's survival spread like wildfire. Across the sector, whispers grew. A human pilot controls Nemesis. A weapon of war listens to a human. And lives were saved instead of destroyed, but not everyone was impressed. Far away, the alien armada responsible for Nemesis's creation began noticing the anomaly. They sent scouts, warships, and emissaries, all monitoring the human who dared control their ultimate weapon. To them, this was unacceptable. A machine that had been programmed to destroy now acted with reason, morality, and cunning, all under a human's influence. Back in Nemesis Bridge, Jared stared at the approaching signals. "Looks like they found us," he said quietly. Nemesis pulsed in response, acknowledging the incoming threat. The ship's massive hull shivered with energy, ready to act, but Jared could sense hesitation. They're not just coming to fight, he realized. They're coming to test us. Or take us. Nemesis hummed in agreement.
It wasn't scared. It was calculating. And Jared, for the first time, understood that their partnership was more than strength. It was trust, intuition, and shared intelligence. As night fell across the nebula, the human and the warship drifted silently. Jared reflected on how far they had come. The galaxy had once feared Nemesis for its destruction. Now it marveled at human cleverness paired with alien power. And somewhere in the distance, the scouts of the alien armada plotted. They would soon arrive, and when they did, they would face something they had never anticipated. A human mind inside a legendary warship, thinking faster, smarter, and more creatively than any machine ever could. Jared leaned back in his chair, a small smile on his face. "Let them come," he whispered. "They don't know what humans are capable of." Nemesis pulsed in agreement. Its sensors focused on the stars ahead. For the first time in centuries, the warship had chosen a human, and that choice would change the galaxy forever. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a tapestry of black punctuated by distant lights. Jared Kane sat on the bridge of Nemesis, his fingers drumming on the console. The warship hummed softly beneath him, its massive hull alive with energy. They were no longer alone. The alien armada had arrived. Hundreds of ships, ranging from sleek fighters to massive dreadnoughts, moved with lethal precision toward Jared's location. Their sensors had identified Nemesis, and their mission was clear: reclaim or destroy the sentient warship. Jared's chest tightened, but his mind sharpened. This was the moment he had been waiting for. He wasn't just a pilot. He was the first human to bond with a warship that had been feared across galaxies for centuries. And he intended to prove that humans were more than machines or weapons. They were unpredictable, clever, unstoppable. "Nemesis," he said calmly. "Let's show them what humans can do." The ship pulsed, almost as if acknowledging the challenge. Jared could feel its thoughts brushing against his own. Anticipation and curiosity mingled with instinct. Unlike the AI-controlled fleets, Nemesis wasn't constrained by logic alone. It could adapt, anticipate, and think creatively. And with Jared guiding it, they were a combination no one had ever faced. The first wave of attackers struck. Laser fire screamed through the void, and fighter craft swarmed like angry hornets. Jared gripped the controls. "Defensive Formation Alpha! Use the asteroid field ahead!" Nemesis moved with uncanny grace, its enormous hull twisting through the void as though it were swimming in space. Energy shields flared, intercepting attacks without breaking. Weapon turrets pivoted, but instead of firing blindly, they disabled enemy engines and systems, leaving ships stranded. From the Armada's perspective, their attacks were ineffective and baffling. Their AI strategies honed for centuries failed against a human pilot paired with a sentient warship. Every move Jared made was counterintuitive to the enemy, yet devastatingly effective. "Think like a human, Nemesis," Jared whispered. "Predict the unpredicted." The warship pulsed in agreement, and for the first time, Jared felt it learning from him. It anticipated his intentions before he even articulated them, creating tactics that were equal parts machine logic and human intuition. The battle raged for hours. Fighter swarms disintegrated, drones were disabled mid-flight, and energy pulses scrambled targeting arrays. But then the flagship of the alien armada appeared, massive, heavily armed, and bristling with weapons designed to pierce even Nemesis shields. Jared's stomach tightened. This was no ordinary fleet commander. This was a warship created in the same era as Nemesis, built to dominate entire systems. And now it had a human inside Nemesis, guiding it. The flagship opened fire, its cannon slicing through space with deadly precision. Nemesis reacted instinctively, dodging and returning fire, but the enemy's experience was unmatched. For the first time, Jared realized they were in real danger. "Hold steady," he muttered. "Remember, we're not just fighting. We're thinking." Jared directed Nemesis to a daring maneuver. Instead of a head-on clash, the ship dove through the edge of a nearby nebula. Ionized gas and electromagnetic storms disrupted the flagship's targeting systems, causing lasers to scatter. The enemy was precise,
but their sensors were thrown off by unpredictable environmental factors that humans could exploit. The flagship retaliated with targeted missile strikes, but Jared anticipated them. Nemesis extended its hull like a massive arm, diverting the missiles safely into space. One by one, the flagship's attacks failed. And yet, Jared knew brute force alone wouldn't win this battle. They needed strategy, creativity, human ingenuity. Jared focused on the flagship's patterns, studying its moves like a chess master. Nemesis mirrored his thought process, moving its massive guns to strike at critical points, disabling engines and shields without destroying the ship. They weren't just fighting, they were teaching the enemy a lesson in human cleverness. Hours passed. Nemesis began to demonstrate abilities Jared hadn't even realized it had. Shields could extend like massive energy wings, forming barriers between enemy ships. Weapon systems could merge beams to disable multiple targets at once. And the warship's intelligence began to show signs of understanding morality, mimicking Jared's restraint. At one point, a squad of enemy fighters veered too close to a civilian transport. Nemesis acted without orders, intercepting the fighters and pushing them away with precision energy pulses. Jared stared in awe. The ship was learning empathy, something no warship had ever done. "This is incredible," he whispered. "You're not just a weapon. You're learning to care." Nemesis pulsed warmly, as if proud. It had survived centuries as a machine of destruction. Now, under a human's guidance, it was discovering something entirely new: compassion and judgment. The battle reached its climax when the flagship attempted a final strike. Its weapons targeted Nemesis' core systems directly. Jared held his breath, feeling the immense power of the enemy's assault. But he smiled. He had one last trick. "Nemesis, follow my lead," he said. Use the fleet's momentum against them. In a move no one could have predicted, Nemesis manipulated the enemy ships against each other. Tractor beams twisted their formation. Energy pulses forced collisions. Fighters crashed into the flagship's hull. Systems overloaded. The flagship, massive and powerful, was left drifting, immobilized but intact. Jared exhaled, exhilarated. They had won, not by brute force, but by using strategy, creativity, and restraint. For the first time in centuries, Nemesis had chosen human ingenuity over raw destruction. It was no longer just a warship. It was a partner, learning from Jared and growing stronger in ways no one else could understand. But their victory came with a sobering realization. The alien armada wouldn't forget this. They had witnessed something impossible. A human controlling a sentient weapon and turning its power into something life-saving, clever, and unpredictable. Jared looked out at the stars, Nemesis pulsing softly beneath him. "We did it," he said quietly.
But they'll be back. And next time,
"It won't just be scouts. It'll be everything they've got." Nemesis pulsed in agreement, its massive hull shimmering with energy. The warship had learned more than strategy today. It had learned trust. And more importantly, it had learned human creativity, morality, and courage. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they were something the galaxy had never seen before. A human and a sentient warship, bonded not by fear, not by orders, but by mutual respect and understanding. And somewhere in the distance, the alien armada recalculated its strategy. They would return. They would attempt to reclaim Nemesis, but they had underestimated humanity. They had underestimated Jared Kane, and that would be their greatest mistake. Cliffhanger ending. As they set a course for the nearest friendly star system, sensors detected another massive fleet approaching. Older, faster, and more deadly than the last. This time they weren't scouts. They were an entire armada, and their target was clear: Nemesis and the human who had tamed it. Jared tightened his grip on the console.
"Ready, Nemesis?"
he asked. The ship pulsed in response. It was ready, and together, human and warship prepared to face the galaxy. The stars were alive with light as Jared Kane sat on Nemesis Bridge. The sensors screamed. A full alien armada, faster, bigger, and more deadly than anything he had faced before, was heading straight for them. Every ship was armed with weapons capable of destroying Nemesis in minutes. Every fleet commander assumed one thing: a human could not control a warship like this and survive. Jared looked out at the approaching fleet and smiled. "They think this is the end of us," he said quietly. "But they don't know what humans are capable of." Nemesis pulsed in response, humming softly like a heartbeat. Its hull radiated energy, massive and alive, every system ready for battle. This time, it wasn't just a fight. It was a test of everything they had learned together. The alien fleet opened fire. The void erupted with blinding energy beams. Fighters darted forward while dreadnoughts unleashed waves of destructive force. Jared leaned forward, hands moving instinctively over the controls, not to react but to think ahead. Nemesis wasn't just following orders. It was anticipating his thoughts, matching his strategy with flawless precision. "Use the debris field ahead," Jared said. "We won't fight them like they expect." With a surge, Nemesis extended its massive hull shields, sweeping aside incoming missiles. Then it moved, twisting and pivoting through the asteroid field, using its immense size to block and redirect enemy fire. Fighters collided with asteroids. Missiles detonated harmlessly against energy shields. For the first time, the Armada faced something unpredictable, something no AI could anticipate. Jared smiled. "They want chaos. Let's give them confusion." Instead of firing full weapons, Jared guided Nemesis to target enemy engines and control systems with precision strikes. Dreadnoughts were immobilized. Fighters spun out of control. The Armada could not destroy Nemesis because every attack was met with clever countermeasures. "You're amazing," Jared whispered, more to himself than the ship. Nemesis pulsed brightly, almost as if acknowledging the praise. For centuries it had been a weapon of pure destruction. Now, under a human's guidance, it was a force of controlled intelligence. Hours passed. The alien Armada adjusted, trying new tactics. They expected Nemesis to fight ruthlessly, but Jared had taught it restraint. Instead of annihilating enemies, Nemesis disabled them strategically, leaving ships intact but useless. Civilian systems in nearby colonies remained untouched. Each move showed a lesson the galaxy had never seen: human morality paired with unmatched power. But then came the flagship, the Armada's ultimate weapon, larger and deadlier than anything before. It focused its cannons on Nemesis' core. The energy beams pierced space with lethal intent. Jared felt the hum of Nemesis systems react defensively, but even its shields strained against the attack. "Hold steady," Jared muttered. "We're not done yet." He studied the flagship's patterns. Its AI was advanced, but predictable in some ways. Jared guided Nemesis to use the fleet against itself. Tractor beams pulled enemy ships into collisions. Energy pulses overloaded weapons, turning their own power against him. Fighters were rerouted into the flagship's path. The flagship fired again, but this time Nemesis anticipated every strike. Energy shields flared, deflecting beams harmlessly into space. Then, in one synchronized movement, Nemesis redirected the flagship's own firepower, causing catastrophic chain reactions within the enemy fleet. Jared's grin widened. Humans think in ways machines can't. Across the battlefield, alien commanders watched in disbelief. Their ultimate weapon had been outmaneuvered, not by another warship, but by a human guiding a sentient one. They realized too late that brute force was meaningless against ingenuity and instinct. Nemesis pulsed, its hull glowing with energy, synchronizing perfectly with Jared's thoughts. The ship had learned more in this battle than it had in centuries. Humans were clever, unpredictable, and capable of compassion. Its immense power was now guided not just by strategy, but by human judgment. The tide of battle turned. The Armada's ships faltered, their formations breaking apart. Fighters collided. Dreadnoughts were trapped by their own momentum. The flagship, massive but now isolated, attempted one final strike. But Nemesis acted with precision. Its weapons struck critical points, disabling systems without destroying the ship. The enemy fleet had been defeated without total destruction. Jared leaned back, exhausted but triumphant. He realized that this victory wasn't just about strength. It was about humanity. Strategy, intuition, and empathy had won where raw power could not. Nemesis pulsed in agreement, its sentient presence resonating like a heartbeat across the bridge. The galaxy watched in awe. Across the sector, reports spread. A human had tamed the most feared warship in history, and together they had outsmarted an entire alien armada. No one had believed it possible. The galaxy might try to challenge them again, but Jared smiled. Humans had proven themselves, and with Nemesis by his side there was nothing they couldn't face. The bond was complete. The warship had learned humanity, and humanity had claimed the stars. Instead, they saw something impossible. A sentient warship, once feared for its brutality, performing an act of precision and creativity under human guidance. And in that moment, Jared knew the galaxy was about to change forever. He leaned back in the chair, exhausted but smiling. "All right, Nemesis," he said, naming the warship instinctively. "Let's see what we can do together." The lights flickered softly, almost like a heartbeat. Nemesis had accepted him. The bond was complete. The Outer Rim fleet had no idea what was coming.
All they knew was that the legendary warship Nemesis was active again.
Sensors tracked a massive vessel moving with unmatched speed and precision, but the pilot was human, and that human was Jared Kane. Inside Nemesis's bridge, Jared stared at the holographic display. The approaching fleet wasn't huge by galactic standards, but it was well equipped, fast, and deadly. Automated drones, fighter craft, and even a small battleship were converging on his location. Their AI had one purpose: neutralize the warship. "They think they can take us," Jared muttered. His fingers danced over the console, not to fire weapons but to scan, analyze, and anticipate. Nemesis hummed in agreement. Its systems responded not just to commands, but to Jared's thoughts. "Let's show them how humans handle a situation," he said. The fleet opened fire. Lasers streaked across the void, cutting into asteroid debris, missing the massive silhouette of Nemesis.
Unlike a normal warship, Nemesis didn't dodge blindly.
It moved with purpose. Weapons deployed not to annihilate, but to disable. Tractor beams snagged drones and hurled them into space. Energy pulses disrupted engines without destroying hulls. Fighters spun out of formation, forced to retreat by clever maneuvers that no AI alone could plan. From the perspective of the attacking fleet, it was baffling. Their sensors couldn't predict the ship's moves. Humanity had proved itself. As the surviving alien ships retreated, Jared set a course for a nearby system to regroup. Nemesis floated smoothly through space, its massive hull gleaming under starlight. "You did well," Jared said softly.
Not just fighting, thinking, learning.
Nemesis pulsed almost warmly, as if acknowledging the compliment. For centuries, it had been a machine of war, feared and hated. Now, it was more than that. It had become a partner, a student, and a friend, all through a human's influence. In the calm after the storm, Jared reflected on the journey. The galaxy had underestimated humans, believing they were fragile, small, and limited. But with creativity, courage, and morality, humans could tame even the most terrifying powers. And Nemesis had learned it too. The warship's sentience was no longer bound to destruction. It had chosen humanity, and in doing so, it had unlocked potential neither humans nor aliens had imagined. Jared looked out at the stars, thinking about the future. "We're just getting started," he said. "There's more out there, more challenges, more battles, and we'll face them together." Nemesis pulsed in agreement, ready for whatever lay ahead. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were cleverer than anyone assumed. Their strength was not just in technology or weapons. It was in their minds, their instincts, and their ability to inspire even the most fearsome war machines. As they traveled toward the next system, a quiet calm settled. For the first time in centuries, Nemesis had purpose beyond war, and Jared Kane knew that together they would reshape the galaxy, not through fear, but through intelligence, courage, and humanity. Final scene. In orbit around a distant star, Jared stood on the bridge, looking out at the nebulae ahead. Nemesis hummed beneath him, alive and aware, waiting for the next adventure.